It's Friday, that means it's preview showtime. As we look ahead to this week's games, the Manchester derby takes place whilst Pogba's future is uncertain. We react to the Champions League in midweek, plus we're asking yet again, did you see that? All that and more to come on this week's show. It's that time of the week again. It's the preview show. Well, you're listening to the OTC podcast with myself, Regan Walsh, and my co-presenter, Brad Morris. How are you today, Brad?
In Thursdays. I just love one day. Literally 5 seconds. Jack Grealish stays out the fucking headlines.
Well, it's not going to happen this week, unfortunately. Maybe next week. It'll be his lucky week where he stays out of the headlines. On today's show, we'll be talking about the Champions League last match day and all the permutations that it has since had. The horrific incident that happened in the Paris Saint-Germain game against Istanbul Başakşehir. Paul Pogba wanting out of Manchester United. Our reaction to the European World Cup qualifiers group stages. And of course, did you see that? Finally, not forgetting our predictions league towards the end of the show. So, in the Champions League, match day 6, on Tuesday, the results were as follows. Borussia Dortmund beat Zenit St. Petersburg 2-1. Lazio drew with Club Brugge 2-2. Chelsea managed a 1-1 draw with Krasnodar. Sevilla beat Rennes 3-1. Juventus ran riot against Barcelona, winning 3-0. Dinamo Kiev beat Ferencvaros 1-0, and RB Leipzig beat Manchester United 3-2. And then yesterday's game saw Atalanta beat Ajax 1-0, Liverpool draw 1-1 with Midtjylland, PSG put 5 past Istanbul Başakşehir, Bayern Munich beat Lokomotiv Moscow 2-0, Atletico Madrid beat Red Bull Salzburg 2-0, Real Madrid beat Borussia Mönchengladbach by the same scoreline. Inter Milan and Shakhtar Donetsk played out a 0-0 draw. Man City beat Marseille 3-0, and FC Porto beat Olympiacos 2-0. So the teams that go through are Bayern Munich and Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Man City, FC Porto, Liverpool, Atalanta, Chelsea, Sevilla, Borussia Dortmund, Lazio, Juventus, Barcelona, PSG, and RB Leipzig. Well, it was a very busy final match day, you got to say, Brad.
It seems that. I mean, obviously the dream scenario never happened. We all desperately wanted Real Madrid out. Just for the laugh.
Yes.
Just for the laugh.
And somehow managed to win the group.
Unbelievable. But it's okay though, because at least we have Manchester United to cover the loss.
Yes, who drop into the Europa League after finishing in third place in their group. I'm going to say very good last 16. It's quite similar to last year's last 16, if I remember correctly, except maybe obviously one or two teams that didn't qualify for it last season. But I think it is quite similar to last year's final 16. For me, early favourites I think would be Bayern to retain their trophy. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I think it's just obvious that you always would put the defending champions in there as the favourites, but I think it'd be harsh to rule out the likes of PSG still. To be honest, it's probably still harsh to rule out Real Madrid.
Who would be Chelsea? Could it be thereabouts? Although they only won their group by a point, they have looked good at stages during this competition. But yeah, I think it wouldn't surprise me if at this rate, as long as they avoid each other, it could be a repeat of last year's final between Bayern and PSG.
I think we shouldn't forget Liverpool as well. They'll be right involved in it as long as they get through the hopefully easy opposition for them this time.
And you don't know how the injuries are going to affect Liverpool. A lot of injuries this season, so we're hoping that they don't get any come February time when time to play the last 16.
Well, this is something that's quite hard for them to make excuses about, because the game against Midtjylland obviously had no permutations to it. So why was Salah playing?
I'm not too sure, because for me it was one of them that they didn't need to play such a big squad. If I remember correctly, they'd already qualified from their group. They had because they drew with Midtjylland 1-1. And it was between Atalanta and Ajax, who was their second team. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the draw, and that will happen on Monday coming up. The draw for the last 16, and will be played on the 16th and 17th of February, the first legs. Obviously, the big talking point of this past week in the Champions League was what happened in the game in the Parc de France, where PSG played Istanbul Başakşehir. It was initially scheduled to be played on Tuesday, just gone, but after a period of time, the game was stopped due to fourth official allegedly saying something racist towards the Istanbul Başakşehir assistant coach to direct from his skin colour. The game was, both teams then went off to the pitch, and there was talks of them coming back after like an hour or so, but the game was postponed until the following day with a new set of officials coming into the game. It's good to see both teams take that stance and just walk off the pitch completely.
Yeah, more clubs need to be doing that in that situation.
Yeah. I've seen people trying to defend him, just saying, because he's Romanian and the word he used is to describe the person black, like saying, but that's not the fact whether he said black in Romanian or said the N word. I'm not going to repeat it on the show, obviously. As an official, he should know everyone's name. Like Stan Collymore put out a tweet today, but I ever agree with much that he says, but this one I 100% agreed with. When it comes to refereed officials or commentators, co-commentators and pundits, like those that you see on the TV and Sky and BBC sheet, and they will know everyone's name on there. So the fact that he used that term instead of using Mr. Weibo's name is crazy. Or he could have, even if he didn't know his name, he could have just said the Istanbul Başakşehir assistant manager. There was no need for him to try and use that. The report on Wednesday saying that this official could be banned for 10 games from officiating if found guilty, which is good in a sense, but it's one of them where he needs to go on an education course of learning what he used. Yes, it might be acceptable in Romania, and it's a deemed acceptable term, but he has to go on an education course to realise that word in any other language can be seen as offensive. A bit like the other week when Edinson Cavani of Man United got in trouble for reposting like a friend's story on Instagram, and he said like thank you like Blackie, but obviously in Portuguese or Spanish. I'm not too sure what they speak in Uruguay. And then everyone was saying like he should be banned for 3 matches and taught on an education lesson. The same thing should have to happen to this fourth official. Don't you agree?
I guess so. But this was something that I saw over social media, and it actually is a bit poignant. So a fan does it in the stands, they'll get a 3-year stadium ban and probably never attend a match again. But a player does it they miss 10 games or a number of games.
Mm.
But I don't see much logic in that if they're the same thing.
Yeah, like just because one's on pitch, one's the different. Yeah, that's an understandable point because you do got to think then like, oh, say if I don't know, your average Sunday league person did that, would they at a Sunday league match would they only get a free match ban from Sunday league? They wouldn't. They'd get kicked off the team and probably be banned from playing in like the county league. So why does he only get a match ban rather than the prop ban they get for fans?
Yeah, I guess that's you're just talking about like banning rules in like Sunderland. That's just brought up a funny story that I remember from when I was playing Saturday League.
Do tell.
Oh, this I got it right. So I'm playing. So this isn't. There was no racial instance. So it's a completely different thing. There's a game I was playing in,
Mm.
and my dad had gone off on the referee for something. And the referee had obviously come to my dad, had a word. They said, yeah, "Mate, we may have to ban you from the park if you carry on
What?
like that." The park, you're gonna ban you. It was just hilarious.
From a public place.
Yeah, we've always laughed at this. I've always mocked him for it. Like, don't carry on, you'll get banned from the.
That's a definite strange one.
Oh, brilliant.
Mm. Elsewhere in that group, obviously, we talked about Manchester United crashing out and
Actually,
falling
just to go
into the
back to
Europa League. But before the game was gone,
just to go back on that, was you personally like? Obviously, we don't know the technicalities of what was said exactly, but if it is what we believe
hmm
and have heard, is it something you're offended by?
yeah, because it's a term like you hear black people saying it to other black people, like words of similar effect, but that's only like a part of the black community. It's like a term they use for like, oh, how's it going, my friend or brother, but like a different meaning to it. But when like a white person says it, there just seems to people think of it as like the racist term that like it's used like how it was used in like the 1700s and in America and that like when they were owned as slaves. So that's where people still find criticism of the term used by other people. And even some black people don't like other black people using it towards them. So it's one of them where it shouldn't be used at all, really, in today's society, especially how people can take offense to it.
Yeah, there you go. That's the answer we need on it. It shouldn't just be one set effort of oh either we're not offended by it or just you know I don't know. I'm still
Don't
we're
use the
still
term.
educating ourselves really, but
Yeah.
yeah, we can't all follow the John Barnes approach.
No. I'm not even going to get into that now because
Yeah.
he's had a year of saying stupid and doing stupid stuff, that man. So we'll leave John Barnes to John Barnes. Like I was going to say, before the Manchester United game against RB Leipzig, Paul Pogba's agent, Mina Raiola, came out and said Paul Pogba is unhappy at Manchester United and it'd be best if the club tried to find him a move in this upcoming January transfer window. I'd say that on the eve of the club playing in a Champions League game, a game that they have to win or at least draw to get through, where they have to play their city rivals, Manchester City, isn't the best of things, is it?
It's almost as if it was planned. No,
Yeah.
uh, I mean, you sure this wasn't from last year, not the other day, because this is a yearly thing now.
Yeah, it seems every year since he's joined Manchester United, these sort of comments appear. But, I mean, even if Pogba is unhappy, there's no need for Raiola to come out and make these statements. He can just have a meeting with Ed Woodward and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Pogba himself, or Pogba himself, and say to Solskjaer or Woodward, look, I'm not happy here with my role at the club. Bruno's and he's obviously taken over the limelight and the position I want to play in, and I'd be happy if you looked for, or see if any club would be interested in buying me in the January transfer window. There's no need for it to come to the press limelight at all, is there?
Oh, you'd think not, but yeah, you sure he's not already having those conversations like weekly?
I mean, he may well be, but there's no need to get into the media. Like, now, every week until the January window comes up, there's going to be a story about Pogba, and like especially dependent on whether he plays this weekend against Manchester City or on the bench, no matter the outcome. They'll be like, oh, if Man United don't play Pogba and they lose, or it's Paul Pogba's agent's fault, or if they play and he played poorly, or maybe what his agent said is affecting him. Like it's not a win-win situation, and there's always going to be stories about him until he does eventually get a move.
Anyone ask Graham Souness his opinion?
He would just blame on his fucking haircut. You know what Souness is like. But for me,
did you hear what Paul Merson had to say in the week?
Was it the snooker analogy?
Yes, it was very offensive to snooker, I think.
Can you repeat the analogy? Because I can't seem to think of it off the top of my head.
I think he was just saying, if he likes like being such an individual in this sport, why doesn't he go and play snooker?
Yeah, that was it. And
I think Sky actually did a Photoshop of him in a snooker, like fancy
talks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit harsh on the snooker, but I know what he means. He's basically saying that football is a team sport and he shouldn't just be thinking about himself all the time. And because obviously it can have permutations on the rest of the Manchester United squad and how they perform. But I had a look the other day, I think, when that story came out. I think it's every 2.5 games. This was before the Leipzig game. Every 2.5 games, Paul Pogba will be involved in a goal or assist. Where I think it's all but 2 of his games. Bruno Fernandes has been involved in a goal or an assist, and he continued that during the weekend. Well, so did Pogba score as well. But if he's unhappy, I think best for Man United and for him to find a buyer if they can in this January transfer window, because there seems to be a lot of commotion around him all the time, and it's not good for Manchester United or Pogba him.
Is it? And I'm more for Paul Pogba versus Ronnie O'Sullivan in an exhibition some point down the line.
That would be a very interesting watch. The thing is, though, we all know we're still living in a COVID world, and money trouble has been for everyone, not just the everyday Joe blogs. So, I mean, United paid 89 million for him from Juventus in 2016. They're probably going to want to try and recoup as much as that back. Has any team actually got 89 million to spend in this transfer window? Realistically, if you look at the 2 options that are always sprouting about, Juventus and Real Madrid, can they afford to go and do that?
From what I know of La Liga, I guess not. But anyway, right, the pandemic problems that who's paying 89 million for him right now?
Oh yeah, yeah. Honestly, on his current form and that, I'd say if you get anything upwards of 60 million, I think Man United have got an absolute steal.
By the hand,
I think you'd be silly to accept anything. Yeah, silly not to accept anything above the 60. So it's going to be interesting developments at Old Trafford to see what happens. There was obviously rumours within minutes of United going out of the Champions League that Solskjaer should be sacked and Pochettino should be in and all this, that and the other. From what I've read, the board have total trust in him and don't plan on sacking him anytime soon. I mean, literally, that's one game they've lost since I can't remember whatever the last league loss was, but they've gone from being a mid Premier League team a few weeks ago to being on the cusp of the top four and are in a title challenge if they win their game in hand, which we talked about before. Yeah, and one loss. I mean, yeah, he got his tactics wrong and the substitutions, Solskjaer, but what are you going to learn from sacking him?
Well, firstly, I think you'd actually get a style to your play.
Yeah, but I think it's a more deep-rooted problem at Man United than just the manager, because Solskjaer's the fourth manager in 7 years now, excluding the 4 games that Ryan Giggs did. Surely it can't just be players now. It's got to be elsewhere, and the managers. It's got to be elsewhere that the problems are at Manchester United, and everyone knows who the problem is. Ed Woodward, when it comes to his transfer dealings and all that. So if they do get their director of football, which they've been talking about for about the last 2 years now, maybe that would see a change at Manchester United. But otherwise, I think it will be Solskjaer lasts another season or so, or he'll go at the end of this season. Maybe.
How long is top 4 and continuously going out of the group stages of the Champions League going to last?
Yeah, but it's not really too dissimilar to what Arsenal are doing, though. And
You have become what you
get the Champions League. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, since moving to the Emirates Stadium 14 years ago, Arsenal have not looked like winning a title. So they just seem happy with the top 4 finish and getting to the last 16 of the Champions League before eventually losing Bayern, which I can see Man United are slowly doing that. Elsewhere in the world football, on Monday evening, the European World Cup qualifying were drawn. Got to say, for England, they were given a fairly easy-ish group, I would say. Nothing too worry about, really, if I was to look at it. I mean, the teams they've got are San Marino, Albania, Poland, and Andorra. I think probably obviously Poland and Hungary, with Robert Lewandowski leading the Polish side and Dominik Szoboszlai leading Hungary. But you got to say, it's not a bad draw for England, and I think they'd be hoping that they can make it to the 2022 World Cup, and you would expect them to do so.
It should be fairly straightforward, but as you say, those 2 teams in general have their star quality, so it won't be as easy when it comes to playing those ones. But if you don't get out of that group, Christ.
Yeah, I think that would be the end of Southgate if he makes it to that World Cup.
You got to win the Euros first.
I don't see that happening. I think if you France, Portugal, and even Italy now, the resurgence that they're doing, I think it'd be hard for England to win that. Even the Netherlands as well was starting to look somewhat decent. I can't remember the rest of the home nations. Here we go. Elsewhere for the home nation sides, Northern Ireland were drawn in Group C along with Italy, Switzerland, Bulgaria, and Lithuania. That's going to be a hard group for Northern Ireland to get off, obviously, because you got the good sides in Italy and Switzerland, and then it's always a tough task against Bulgaria. They should win. It's going to be hard for them to get out of that group. Wales face Belgium, Czech Republic, Belarus, and Estonia. I think you got to say they're probably second favourites behind Belgium there.
I guess I'd slightly put Czech Republic ahead of Wales. Don't run it just, but they would get Belgium.
Yeah, it do seem it has happened a lot recently. They'd get Belgium, and then Scotland have been drawn in a group with Denmark, Austria, Israel, the Faroe Islands, and Moldova, which is somewhat of a decent group for them.
I think they could be filled with that.
It all depends on what Denmark team pull up, and
they have to win that group, don't
they? I believe so. I'm trying to remember.
Tough challenge if they have to win it.
But if they can do it like be one of the second best teams and qualify for the playoffs, then I'd say they would have a decent chance of doing that at least. So the qualifiers will start taking place in March next year, and then the playoffs for the final few spots will happen in March of 2022. Going to be very interesting to see how all the home nation sides get on. Right. Now it's on to the segment that was introduced earlier on in this week.
It's time for.
Oh, he missed it! I do not believe what I've just seen! Very interesting! Oh! Something weird is going on. Shit! Did you see that?
It's that time again. Did you see that? So I believe you have the options this week.
Yep. Okay. So the first one, Brazilian defender and former Barcelona right back Dani Alves was given a new statue in Sao Paulo. Now, as statues go, it looks about 40 years. So I'm just going to send it to you now, and tell me what you think of this statue. Do you think it looks like Dani Alves at all?
I haven't seen this, and I don't really know how I haven't. But Jesus fucking Christ! What? That is not Dani Alves.
Yeah, that's not Dani Alves at all. It's one of the worst statues. I think he might actually beat the Cristiano Ronaldo statue for how bad it is.
Nothing like him, and he doesn't even look like the right Brazil shirt.
No,
Alves was never that thin, by the way.
He's genuinely one of the worst ones. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'll pop up an image of it now, so you can see it. If not, and you're listening to us elsewhere, just type in Dani Alves statue and you'll see what we're talking about, because it is horrendous.
It's not as bad as the Ronaldo one, but it's shocking.
I mean, could you even make that out as to look as like Dani Alves? I mean, at least with the Ronaldo one, you can kind of tell who it is. Just because if you think of like where it was in the world, you think, okay, yeah, who's famous from this area? Okay, Ronaldo. It's a bad statue of him, but yes. Where I think that Dani Alves one, even if it has Alves on the back, I don't think you'll be able to tell that was Dani Alves.
I think that was someone from like the 1970s squad or something.
Yes.
If they'd maybe like had his legs like spread out on like a staircase, just a famous moment from the Champions League final in 2015. Just then maybe I'd have got it.
Yeah. And my second, did you see that, comes from a Chinese university. So this was women's teams were playing, and this is an article from the BBC. It said, a women's university football match in China had to be called off after players were told they were not allowed to have dyed hair, state media report. The women's team of Fuzhou and Jimei universities were due to meet for a college league game in the southeastern Fujian province at the weekend. Team members from both sides brought black hair dye to correct the problem, but one Fuzhou player's hair was deemed not black enough, and the side had to forfeit for having only 6 players. Before the match, multiple players were ejected from the match for violating a rule which requires that all players do not dye or curl their hair, the National Global Times reports. Athletes are not allowed to dye their hair, grow long hair for boys, wear weird hairstyles, or wear any accessories, states the rule of the Fujian Provincial Department of Education, quoted by the South China Morning Post. Otherwise, they will be disqualified from the competition. The rules from the organisers, the National Youth Campus Football League, go further. Athletes at all stages shall not have tattoos, dye their hair, wear weird hairstyles, or wear any accessories. Otherwise, they will be ineligible for the competition. I mean, I've heard it all now. They weren't allowed to play because their hair wasn't black enough. What?
That country.
I don't even know. Like, I saw that article the other day. I think it was Tuesday. It was published by the BBC, and I was like, "This has to be some sort of joke." But then I read the story even more, and I realised it wasn't a joke. They were being deadly serious. They're not allowed to have dyed hair, weird hairstyles, accessories, and tattoos, and their hair was deemed not black enough. I mean, imagine if Carlos Valderrama, the Colombian goalkeeper, imagine if he played over there.
We can roll out Paul Pogba's move to the Chinese Super League then.
Paul Pogba's never going to China. I mean, I saw that and I was speechless, and then just reading that again has left me completely speechless again. It is ridiculous. Is there any more? Did you see that? Did you have one yourself for this week?
Well, I had one, and then I remembered another one because I genuinely thought it was the one you were going to mention, and that was in Sweden. It's that amazing clip of shithousery from Sebastian Larsson's team. It just ball clearly goes out of play, and they just boot it back down the field to stop the other team from attacking.
The ex-Sunderland Sebastian Larsson.
Yeah, only played for, I can't remember the team. I don't know if it was Ike or whatever they're called.
No, I didn't see this one.
Yes, and this was everywhere at the weekend.
No, he does play for Ike or AIK in Sweden. No, I didn't see that story at all.
I was going to say, and the one I had in mind came yesterday. If you've seen the viral clip going around from the Parisian League, I think the player's name was Nader Mohammadi. Let's just say he managed to achieve what the poor, I think was it Iran at the World Cup? That poor bloke who tried to do the somersault throw and shamed himself in front of millions.
Yes, I did see this one clip now, actually, thinking about it.
Nader Mohammadi succeeded, and not only that, he scored.
Yeah. And though the rules say the ball's not up from a throw and it can't go in without anyone touching it, I do think the goalkeeper in goal does get his hands to it, and that's why he was allowed to count as a goal. But yes, I do remember seeing that video now a day or two ago where he does the full-on somersault and gets an incredible launch on his throw. It's definitely
the one
an interesting take on it.
The one from the World Cup is iconic. Like last minute, he's thought, screw this.
And then turns to do a somersault and then throw it in.
And then realised that he done fucked up.
You
look more, it's more embarrassing if you pause and just not do anything. Like, you might as well have committed.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
You're going to look stupid if you fucking commit.
Oh, definitely. Right, it's now time on to the Predictions League, as we have a whole set of Premier League fixtures. But before Brad tells me the 6 games, we'll give you a quick rundown of what Premier League games to look forward to. So on Friday, which will be tonight if you're listening to it on Friday, sees Leeds United play West Ham at Elland Road on Sky Sports Premier League, kick-off at 8 o'clock. Leeds see themselves in 14th, whilst West Ham are in 8th. A victory for the Hammers can see them go level on points with Southampton and just outside the top 4, which would be a great start to them, whilst win for Leeds will see them go level on points with West Ham. Then Saturday lunchtime kickoff is at the Molineux on BT Sport 1 as Nuno Espirito Santo welcome Dean Smith's Aston Villa to the stadium. A win for Villa would see them leapfrog Wolves by a point, whilst a win for Wolves would see them go level on points with Southampton and a point outside the top 4. So that's going to should be an interesting watch. Next up, we have Newcastle versus West Brom at 3 o'clock from St James's Park, again on Sky Sports. West Brom sitting 19th. A win would see them jump out of the relegation zone, and a win for Newcastle would see them go level on points with Wolves, Everton and West Ham, obviously if the results go against them teams. Then at 5:30 we have the Manchester Derby from the Etihad Stadium. No, sorry, not the Etihad, Old Trafford. As Manchester United play Man City, again on Sky Sports. A win for United will see them leapfrog Leicester and Southampton into the top 4, whilst a win for City would see them leapfrog United and could potentially go into the top 4 based on goal difference. And the final game on Saturday sees Carlo Ancelotti's Everton welcome Frank Lampard's Chelsea to Goodison Park. Chelsea will be looking to go to the top of the Premier League table for a few hours at least before Sunday's fixtures get underway, whilst Everton, a victory for them could see them jump into 5th place. Sunday's fixtures sees Southampton welcome Sheffield United to St Mary's Stadium at 12 o'clock, again on Sky Sports. Ralph Hasenhüttl's side obviously can go into the top 4 with the victory, whilst the Blades will be looking to get their first win of the season. Next up at 2:15 sees Crystal Palace play Tottenham Hotspur, again on Sky Sports Premier League. Palace victory would see them go to 19 points and could see them on the cusp of the top 5, whilst a win for Spurs would obviously put them back to the top of the table if Chelsea win on Saturday. Then Fulham play Liverpool at 4:30 at Craven Cottage, again on Sky Sports. Liverpool win and Spurs were to lose this weekend, Liverpool would go top, whilst Fulham would go level on points with Brighton and Hove Albion. Then after that we have Arsenal playing Burnley at 7:15. Arsenal will be looking to get to some winning ways, and hopefully if they win in the Europa League on Thursday night, or last night, or tonight for us, which is a really weird way of saying it, last night for the listeners, tonight for us, and the other day if you were listening to it any day after Friday. So yeah, a win for them would see them go level on points with Palace, obviously if the results go in their favour, whilst a win for Burnley would see them go out of the relegation zone if Fulham win, and only 4 points behind Arsenal, if my maths is correct there. And then the final game of the weekend sees Leicester City welcome Brighton and Hove Albion to the King Power Stadium on Amazon Prime. A win for the Foxes, and obviously if the results go their way, they could leapfrog Chelsea and be level on points with Tottenham and Liverpool, whilst a win for Graham Potter's Brighton would see them, and Arsenal could see them leapfrog Arsenal into 15th.
So to give that to you.
Yes, I always try and get a nice dig into one team over the week. Some interesting games, you've got to say, looking at this fixture schedule. I think obviously the standout bit. Obviously, the standout one being the Manchester derby.
But we will
But
not
yeah, it's
happen
got some
there.
good. Right, yeah. So predictions league. What games are you going for this week?
Cool. Right. We start with, I almost said tomorrow night, but I will say tonight because when this will be released. Leeds West Ham.
I think this is going to be. I think Leeds will win this 2-1.
I have 1-1.
Okay.
Up next. This is the first of 3 derbies that we have in this list.
Mm-hmm.
Manchester United, Manchester City.
I'm going to go with Man City to win for 3-1.
Well. What a turn up for the books. This is the Man United fan doesn't back his team.
I'm being realistic, and I'm wanting to win this predictions league against you.
He's being realistic, but he's also forgetting that Man United have the abilities of the comeback and turning up in the big game.
Yeah, but Man City have Sergio Aguero coming back from injury.
You don't know that he's going to play all the 90 minutes.
Well, he won't do because Guardiola said in his press conference he won't play all 90 minutes.
He might have done the Bielsa and just named his whole fucking team, didn't he? Now, I stick my neck on the line in these predictions. I am go big or go home. It's going to end 2-2.
You going for Desmond?
I'm going for the Desmond in this game.
Wow.
Wait,
Okay.
hang on, right? Remind me when this game is.
Saturday evening
God.
at
That's fine.
5:30.
That's fine. It's not the dirty Sky 4 o'clock.
No, it's not Sky 4:00 on a Sunday evening.
That's the curse spot.
Yes.
Yep, 2-2.
Okay. Game 3.
We have Leicester City, Brighton and Hove Albion.
I mean, I take it that's not one of the 3 derbies because they're not rivals or in the same city.
I mean, they're probably more rivals than Brighton and Palace. So
How? Palace is closer to Brighton than Leicester is to Brighton. Regardless, I'm going 3-0 Leicester.
You've gone risky and completely ignored how Brighton are playing lately in the goal. I say 2-1 Leicester.
Okay. Game number 4, which I imagine is not from the Premier League.
No, we are in wildcard territory. We have Manchester City women and Arsenal women.
Gonna be a very good clash to watch. That game is available to watch on BT Sport 2, if I remember correctly. At 2:30 on Sunday. BT Sport 1, sorry. I'm gonna go Arsenal to win 2-1 with the GOAT score.
Are you saying that the GOAT is back from injury?
Oh yeah, she was back last weekend. She only missed the international break.
I fully expected you to make a big thing of it, but yeah.
No.
So you say 2-1, I say 2-0 to Arsenal.
So you don't expect Man City to score?
No.
Wow. I mean, they have just came back from playing in the Women's Champions League on Wednesday in Sweden, where they played Gothenburg, and they won quite convincingly.
I have faith in Arsenal's defence.
Yeah.
Fourth game. We are now firmly in derby territory.
Game 5, lad.
I only got a C maps.
I mean, that's just basic counting, considering you did Leeds versus West Ham, Man United, Man City, Leicester United, and Man City versus Arsenal. That's 4.
Shut up. Game 5. Travel to Wales, Cardiff City, and Swansea City.
Ooh.
Hey, boy.
Cardiff versus Swansea. Cardiff, the home team.
Cardiff are the home team, yes. Yeah.
I can restart with this shit accent. It's dreadful. I'm
You
gonna
just make a great
go.
name with Tom Jones. Like.
I'm going with Swansea to win 3-2.
Are you mad?
What?
It's fucking Derby? Never happens. Mental. I've only gone 2-0 Swansea.
No, I'm expecting goals in that game.
Jesus Christ. These aren't
Oh,
exactly free scoring teams, you know.
Swansea have got 19 goals this season. Cardiff have scored 23. Only Bournemouth, Reading, and Brentford, and Blackburn. Okay, Blackburn have scored 31 goals this season. Jesus Christ, Blackburn.
Adam Armstrong, yeah.
Well, either way, yeah, I'm expecting goals in that game, so that's why I've gone 3-2 to Swansea. And
Even the high scoring teams don't score in derbies.
what's the sixth? This is sixth and final game.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah, the number after 5 and before.
it's just, we're doing a Gareth Bale. We're going from Wales to Madrid.
We're not playing golf in between.
You can do if you want.
So isn't it Wales, golf, Madrid in that order?
I mean, if you're out to play golf in Spain right now, but maybe you can.
I mean,
But
I've never
it
played a
is.
full round of golf in my life.
Mm-hmm. It is Real versus Atletico.
I'm gonna go with a Atletico Madrid win.
It is at the Real. It is at that little Real Park they're playing in right now.
Give me a second. Alexa off. Sorry, you're gonna have to edit that bit out. I don't know how much of my dad
Well,
you
I don't
actually
think
heard.
any other bit when Alexa talks in the.
Yes. I'm gonna go. So we're playing at that little Madrid stadium that isn't the Bernabeu, but is it their training ground one?
Oh, before it was the training ground, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with 2-1 Atletico.
Bold, but I have a 1-1 draw.
Do our review show. Whenever we're doing it, we'll have a look. Current standings: Brad's on 12 points, whilst I'm in the lead with 23 points. Before we go, we'll get to the board of women. First place, 32 in this season's UEFA Women's Champions League. I'm not going to go through all the games, but some of the big results for the big teams. Glasgow City lost to Sparta Prague 2-1. Lyon won against Juventus 3-2. Wolfsburg beat Spartak Subotica 5-0. Man City beat Göteborg 2-1. Chelsea put 5 past Benfica, winning 5-0. Barcelona beat PSV 4-1. Atletico Madrid beat Cevite 1. And then there's still some games to be played. Currently, earlier Fiorentina drew with Slavia Prague 2-2. PSG are currently 2-0 up, only the 2-0. And Ajax Bayern Munich is currently 0-0. As we said in the predictions, we've got Man City versus Arsenal in the WSL on Sunday. Other games see Reading play Manchester United at 12:30 on the BBC Red Button, and the FA playoff at the Majeski. Then Birmingham City play Everton, Brighton play Chelsea, Bristol play West Ham, Tottenham play Aston Villa, and that is your lot. Some good games. Hopefully, Aston Villa will continue their win from Wednesday night as they put 4 past Bristol City. Tottenham will continue to look for their surge against this weekend after Ryan Skinner's side won last weekend, and it's certainly going to be an interesting one. We've only got this week and next week in the WSL before we have a 2-week break over the Christmas period. So if you can get to a game and the fans are allowed to, make sure you can get in and support your team. Right. Any more, Brad?
I got nothing. Just can't go on Twitter about saying Jack Grealish looking at Vertit.
Yeah. Oh yes, that was it. The final bit of news
I'm
is
not talking about that.
somber
Pal. I'm
news.
talking about Ahmed Al-Wahhabi.
No, I'm not talking about that. Sad news to end the day on, and that is former Italian player, part of the 1982 World Cup winning squad, Paolo Rossi, passed away the early hours of this morning, if I remember correctly, or late last night. So our thoughts go out to Rossi and his family.
The main figure of the 1982 World Cup winning team. Probably.
Yes. Right, that's all we've got time for on today's OTC podcast preview show. Make sure you give us a like, comment, and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, and like and subscribe wherever else you're listening to. We'll be back next week to have a look at our predictions and any other talking points that we have that happens between now and then. And it's goodbye from me and goodbye from Brad, and we'll see you soon.